Hello everyone, welcome to another one of our Facebook Lives. Really appreciate you joining us today. And I'm joined by Kathy Davis, who you've seen before.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I always love when Kathy and I chat by either text or phone, and she says, oh, I've made the such and such, and I go, oh, you're on for next Tuesday.
Which is what happened.
Yeah, exactly what happened. I was down in Alabama attending an Alabama Chanin workshop. And Kathy, for the first year, didn't go this year, but she was in touch with us, and she texted us a picture of what she was working on, a la Alabama Chanin style. So you're going to see that jacket in a little bit. But first, a couple of announcements. Last Saturday was May 1st, so that's the day of our launch of the May So Confident project. And actually, Kathy, you made this one, which is the Whistles shirt in a very special fabric printed in panels. The panels are 34 inches by 44 inches. It takes about 3 panels to make a shirt. And the fabric is really interesting because these are all kind of modern landscape and structures and designed by a woman by the name of Noelle Ferris. And when you made this, you commented that the layout was tight.
It was, yes.
Yes, and so if you are making perhaps a size extra large, XXL, maybe even a large, or if you're going to make long sleeves, if you want some room to breathe in terms of layout and flexibility, you might want to order an extra panel.
Right. And this is a size, what was small?
Yeah, that's a size small.
Which you do have a little bit of room to maneuver around the motif, a little bit with a small and even a medium. But, you know, the other sizes will fit, but you got to know what you're doing when you do it.
Yeah, so. No room for error.
Right.
I know what I was going to say. Yes, we provided you with very detailed layouts in the May 1 prep letter for laying out this fabric in the whistles. And I made some aqua colored linen Picasso pants, so that's what I'm wearing in the promotional photograph, and I really like these. I think that's a good combination. Mm-hmm. So then I made one in a different colorway, which is teal, kind of a slate blue, peach, salmon color, some gold. And for this one, I shortened the sleeve. So for those of you who live in the kind of climate where you want a shorter sleeve, I'm going to show you how to do this in the video, which will be released on May 21st, where you can watch the sew along of how to make this. And then, of course, we'll have our question and answer session on the 27th of May. So you still have time to sign up for the yearly So Confident program and get this project and everything previous or after, or you can sign up for the month to just make this and get your kits ordered. We're running kind of low-ish on them, but I hope we have enough to fill all the orders, so I think we will. All right, so shown the whistles, talked about So Confident. I've had some questions from people about what board I use in the video. Do you remember this? You probably have never seen this. I had this at home, and it's actually called a Pin Weave Express by June Taylor, and I use this as a pressing surface on the video shoots. I also use it at home. You and I do textile collages and pin things together, and I use it to pin my projects, and so I can stand away and look at things. It's kind of like a little design board. But this does not exactly exist anymore, but I got an email yesterday from, and I hope I don't mispronounce your name, Ging, or Jing, G-I-N-G, who says that this is available. And what I realized was it's available under other names. Shape and Press Shaping Board, or Quilter Square and Blocker. But if you go to the sewingcollection.com, you will find this board. And I also found them on Amazon and all kinds of other places. So I was looking for the wrong name when I was trying to find them, but they do exist. It's 18 inches by 24 inches. And they range from $20 to $48 for the very same thing. I can't tell you why that is. But at any rate, they exist, so check that out. Okay, so our yearly trip to Alabama Chanin inspired you.
Well, it kind of put a little bit of, your heart, and you think, oh, I'm really sorry I'm not there.
Right. So you did some Alabama Chanin work, and since we're all over this Charlie bomber jacket for the month of April, that was our project for So Confident. Remember, this is the project, the quilted blue sateen that was backed in cotton knit. I can't talk today. Have you ever had days like that? The words are not exactly spewing out. All right. And then it was quilted in a diagonal manner in a 2-inch grid, and it had a separate yoke with fringe and so forth. So this inspired you to do this.
Yes. All right. So this is some Alabama Chanin print that we purchased maybe 5 years ago, and it's been in the stash for a long time. It kind of had a little bit of a dull, faded, it's intentionally faded motif, and so I didn't really know what to do with it. And I thought, well, after all the bomber jackets, and you were stitching in Alabama, so I got it out. I thought it needed a bit of brightening, so also this is a solid Alabama Chanin that I backed it with. But I took the inspiration from the denim jacket, and I did the quilting with the 2-inch grid on it, and just did a running stitch with embroidery floss, 4 strands of embroidery floss. And you can see that it's underlined, not lined, but underlined, and you can barely see the texture of the stitching on the back side.
She's even hidden her knots in between the 2 layers.
Not hidden knots, hidden tails.
Oh, hidden tails. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
There's no tails sticking out, which, is kind of a fun design on some garments from Alabama Chanin. So the Charlie jacket, when I got down to how to finish it, I came in for black ribbing. The black ribbing tend to be a little stark black. It was just kind of too beautiful for a sweatshirty garment. So back to the closet. And in the closet was a pre-loved, distressed Ralph Lauren sweater that was really too little. So the Ralph Lauren sweater had this charcoal gray with a little bit of fading, which matched the faded motifs on this. When Alabama Chanin stencils this, they want it to be all blurry. They stencil it on wet fabric, so it will intentionally smear.
It's like watercolor, wet on wet. Yeah. So was this ribbing on the sweater, or is just this the body of the sweater?
That's the bottom of the sweater. It wasn't really a different knit from the garment to the bottom.
All right. And then you extended the cuff, which I think is really cool.
Yes, I cut 9 inches off the sleeve of the sweater.
So this is the original bottom of the sleeve.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's just brilliant.
So, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there we go.
Well, I think this is fantastic.
Thank you.
So we thought we would show some other Charlie bombers today. You have one on that you also made.
I did. I've talked before about my tub of antique kimono pieces, so I thought, I'm going to start on that before they have to go into my estate sale when I'm no longer here. So with all the sorting, I came out and I sorted out all the browns, yellows, golds, and some greens. Some of the yellow you won't find too much. The lady who sells all kimono said that they don't really wear yellow kimonos. That's not their color. So anyway, I got this all out and started piecing actually for another jacket. And when I had the front and the back pieced for that jacket, no sleeves yet, I tried it on and I thought, you know, I want something a little less blazer looking. And so I measured out, and all my pieces, I got the Charlie pattern out, and it would fit. So I recut everything and put it on. But for the piecing for this, and it is channel stitched on a cotton. So I did,
What kind of cotton?
well,
Oh, a Liberty of London cotton.
I want to say
Oh.
I felt a little guilty for wasting Liberty of London, but this was the best motif for this to be the inside. You cannot see the stitching on it. If your fabric was a little off somewhere, it just did not show. And it was so easy to work with.
So the channel stitching is horizontal,
it is
about every 3/8 of an inch
Right,
or
it's
so apart.
the width of my presser.
With the presser foot.
Right.
Yeah, so it gives it some, just a little different feel, a little bit of structure. Cotton thread, polyester thread, whatever.
Probably both.
Probably both, whatever she had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost takes 4 to 5 spools of thread to do that. So there's probably 3 different colors here, but again, you won't
So
see
turn
it.
around so they can see the motif on the back. Yeah, I think this is just really incredible.
And when I piece it, I don't really worry about it being perfectly pieced.
So one of the questions is going to be, I'm going to anticipate this.
Uh-huh.
So do you generally lay out the pieces per the pattern shape, or do you just make fabric and then you just cut it out?
Well, for people who are just starting, sometimes it's easy to start with a sleeve. And so I do put my sleeve pattern down, and then I start laying down different pieces of kimono. I don't really think about it or draw it on the pattern. I work best just throwing on there. So I'll cut a piece, maybe I'll cut something 4 by 3 and put it on, or I'll cut a piece on the diagonal and just lay it on, and try to work past the outline of your sleeves so you have a little, maybe an inch out, and then start piecing it. It is pieced. There are no raw edges on the outside.
Yeah.
So it is
like little
pieced.
1/4 inch seams, just like
Right.
quilters do. And,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And are you worrying about grain?
I don't on the kimono. I mean, I do on the lining. I want the grain on that. But
Okay.
the kimono pieces, I don't.
Okay.
With the channel stitching, you can get by without any of that. So
All right.
anyway.
Well, so we go from hand stitching to machine stitching, which I think is all really an interesting. Kathy is just wonderful at artistic expression with all of our garments, so we always lean on her for our.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's take it out of the box a little bit. Well, I think you made this one.
That Erin made that
Oh,
one.
did Erin make this one?
Yes.
This is one that Erin made a while back and added some faux leather embellishments on the yoke area, and this one is lined. We're going to get into this whole lining, underlining thing in a minute, but this one is actually lined in a beautiful silk charmeuse. And then Erin also made this one, which is a cotton that has a little bit of stretch to it.
It's a denim, isn't it?
It's kind of a lightweight canvas or denim. That's right. And then she underlined this one, so you actually see the seams. So this is a different process, which we're going to talk about. But I think I've noticed that every time I want to see this, Erin has to go home to get it. So I'm thinking that you like this jacket a lot and you've been wearing it. All right. So Kathy, tell us about this one.
All right, this is one of the first ones I made after Erin worked on the pattern way back in 2017 or something. So this was my first project after retirement. And the front is a tie-dye suede, which in the closet was a long maxi skirt from the 80s. And so I thought, you know, I don't think I'll ever wear that skirt again. But then I got the idea of cutting it up. The sleeves and the ribbing from the closet is the old Jean Paul Goudier sweater That was too small for me. Now, on the back is beautiful, beautiful wool herringbone that I actually purchased for the project.
Did you do this part, or was this part of the sweater?
That's the whole sleeve.
That's the whole sleeve from the sweater?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And the reason I ask is it has like a little mesh
Yes.
over the sweater that's been stitched. I didn't know if you had done
Well,
that
it
or
was
not.
definitely a conglomeration of different
Yeah.
things. And after I finished, I sent the picture to Erin and I said, "Too weird, question mark, question mark." And she said, "No, but I really enjoyed wearing it."
Yeah, this is wonderful. So then this is the one I wore all winter, which is just a novelty, fun fur thing in the front only. And then this is the same wool herringbone in different colorway for the sleeves and the back in this case.
That was wonderful fabric.
Yeah, but isn't this fun? I mean, this feels so good, and I get more compliments on this when I wear it. And you can wear it dressy, and you can wear it really casually as well.
Well, if people don't want to go into a full-blown fur project, the front of this jacket is a great board for
Yeah.
just a piece of odd fabric that you have maybe just a yard of that you bought somewhere and don't know what to do with it. But I thought the fur was great.
Yeah. So this was fun. Erin made this one that it was in a reversible fabric. So I'm not sure which way I like it better. You didn't make it reversible, but that would have been way too much engineering. But anyway, a wool that is two-sided, and then again she put some interesting striped ribbing on it and added the little embellishments as well in the front and the back. So this jacket can go winter or summer. Linda Wardlow, our friend here in Topeka, made this one in this wool that has a little bit of a glistening thread through it. She's added some faux suede. I don't know whether she used a sweater here or some ribbing. I should have asked her, but oh, and there's a nice pin in there. I wonder if we've...
Look at her lining.
I know, but her lining. See, this is an opportunity to really have some fun with some lining. And this is lined, and this is what I call kind of a hybrid lining, which is what I'm going to talk about, where it's lined to the extent that it hides the seams, and yet it is sewn to the bottom, so you do see a seam where it attaches to the ribbing. So that's Linda Wardlow. So let's talk about mine. So I decided that I wanted to take this wonderful silk charmeuse fabric. You can sit down. It's okay.
Thank you.
We brought the stool out for Kathy today. She's retired. She's not used to standing. Is that what happens when you retire? You want to sit down? Maybe I need to retire and sit down more.
Oh, would you like this stool?
At any rate, I love this fabric. It's a fabric that has virtually two sides to it. There's this floral side. Well, they're both floral, but this more geometric side. It's like two different fabrics put together. And I love the fabric, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I decided to make a bomber jacket, a Charlie bomber jacket. So I cut out the pieces of my silk charmeuse with the idea that I would have one side of the jacket in one print, and the other side of the jacket in the other print, and the sleeves would go with that side, and then it would carry around to the back, just like that. All right, so I take my pieces to Alabama with me because I wanted to check out some lightweight cotton knit as an underlining. I'm in Alabama. I take the time to cut out my pieces. I baste them together. And so I'm home on Sunday, and I'm ready to start this jacket. This is 2 days ago. And I hold my pieces up, and you know what happens. Sometimes underlining depends on the two fabrics, whether they hang together or not. And my silk drooped, and my knit did not. So I took out the basting at the bottom and tried to shift, and by the time I'd spent 30 minutes trying to even up all the edges, I couldn't make it work. And so I went phooey. So I took off all of the cotton knit. I didn't throw it in the trash, but I put it aside. And I got out some beautiful cotton batiste. Cut out the pieces, basted them together. Same thing.
Really?
Yes. So I'm now 2 underlinings into this project, and I'm nowhere. And I'm realizing Tuesday is coming, and that was my personal deadline to have this jacket done. So I get out the famous Japanese ultra shear interfacing, and I fused every piece so that it stabilized the silk charmeuse and it wasn't quite as see-through. Well, that was fine. I loved the feeling of it, but then what you saw on the inside of the jacket was interfacing. So then I realized I really need to line this jacket too. So I drove down to the office and got some pink China silk, which we don't have on our website, but we do have some pieces of China silk. And I just wanted this jacket to be very light and airy, and so I cut out the lining. All right, so I'm sewing this together, and I realized that I've cut out this sleeve as a right sleeve and this sleeve as a left sleeve. I had reversed my pieces. So I carefully put the pattern pieces back on these and recut them and drew what would have been the original sewing line so I could insert these sleeves and they would fit. Put the sleeves in, put them in the wrong way. So I took the sleeves out and reversed them to the original, whatever they were. Okay, now I'm moving on, and I finished the jacket, and I'm proud of the fact that I have this motif on this side and all this motif on the other side, and I turn around and I've got it reversed on the back. So you know,
I think it looks
there are just times when you just don't get it quite right.
Well, you know, on this sleeve, should you make a mistake, you can cheat. Because I think I did it on here, that it's rather symmetrical.
It's fairly symmetrical.
Yes.
I ended up sort of, kind of.
Sorta.
Yeah, you can cheat.
Yeah.
Well, I take this watercolor class from a woman, and she's doing a watercolor trip, and I emailed her and said, so do I have the skills to even join this trip of yours? And she said, well, no, not really, but you do have perseverance. So I allow people with perseverance to go on the trip. And so I was reminded of that on Sunday when I made this garment, that it takes a little perseverance sometimes as a sewer. Of course, I had set a deadline, and not everybody has a deadline. I got the jacket done. I'm very happy with it. Okay, so what do we have on with our Charlies?
Well, I have on the Hudson pants.
Yes.
In a...
Here, come back here so they can see them.
I think it's probably a polyester crinkle.
Yeah. It's like a double weave almost. We've had this around here for a while, but these pants go with everything. And we pull them off the rack, and she wears them, I wear them, Erin wears them, we know whoever wants to wear them.
I saw them on the rack as I left the other day, and I thought, oh, that olive color, it's perfect. So.
And then she was reminded of the fact that we all wear them, and then we had not dry cleaned them, so, you know, whatever. Anyway, so I have on the Hudson pants as well.
Yes.
In white viscose linen. The Hudson pants are the ones that have the elastic waist and have the 2 darts in the front and 2 darts in the back, starting at the bottom hem, that end just below the knee. And it brings that leg in to that sort of lantern shape that's so popular right now. And these are some of my favorite pants. I make them in every kind of fabric.
They look great.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about, here, you can be my easel. Is that all right?
I can do that.
All right, so I've had some requests to know how to do a round back adjustment on this pattern, and specifically on the bomber that had the yoke. Now, this would apply for the bomber jacket whether it has the yoke or it doesn't have the yoke. So I'm going to let you hold this. So, can you see it okay, Erin? All right. So on this back yoke piece, you want to measure down about 4 inches and draw a line perpendicular to the center back to the seam allowance. So that's 5/8 of an inch from this edge. The idea is that you always want to preserve this curve so you don't have to think about whether the sleeve will fit or not. And then you draw another line absolutely perpendicular straight up from this point. Now notice that on this back yoke and on the Charlie bomber, This has a very dropped front shoulder seam. So this dot right here is actually the dot at the shoulder where the top of the sleeve would fit. And so this is how much forward that seam is. So this is the shoulder. But this is what we're considering a forward shoulder seam at the moment. So you cut out this wedge, take that whole piece out, and you move it up. And in this case, I have added 5/8 of an inch. Now this could be 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch, whatever, however much you need to get rid of some of those diagonal folds that or strain marks that happen in a garment. And I've just added 5/8 of an inch by putting some tissue paper in there. Now notice what happens here. That shifts this up, but I have retained the original neck point, I've retained the original sleeve, and drawn a new line. So this line is going to have a slightly different angle to it, which you will never see, but it retains that same point to which you match your sleeve. You notice there's the little balance of that sleeve, but you want to use the original placement for the sleeve because you are using the original curve. So that is round back adjustment. All right, so let's talk a little bit, you and me, about lining, underlining, all of that. You chose to underline in cotton,
Right.
Liberty of London cotton, and you've channel stitched to that.
Yes.
That means you married the two pieces
Yes.
and use it as one.
Right.
That is what Erin did here. She's used Bemberg rayon, a traditional lining fabric. She basted all of these together and then constructed the jacket just like we do. And you can see the seams,
Which are serged.
which were serged.
Uh-huh.
So you could use, in this jacket, our cotton knit is underlined. So we've gone from knit to cotton, Liberty of London cotton, to Bemberg rayon. You could use lightweight linen, you could use China silk, you could use organza. Whatever material you marry is going to change the character of the fabric that it's working against. And that is really the purpose. The purpose of underlining is to give support and to possibly change the character of it.
But you can do it without any lining also.
Absolutely. This garment does not necessarily need to be
Right.
lined depending on the fabric.
There's some of the
The
fur
only
one.
reason, in fact, Erin, this particular denim lightweight canvas did not need to be underlined. But because it's a print, the inside of the jacket was this not very attractive white with some of the dye coming through. And so this was more visual. And of course, this rayon does allow the jacket to really slide over your garments as well.
I like the way
So
it
it kind of
feels.
served two purposes, but she didn't really need to underline the jacket in terms of construction and all that, and the fabric. So it was more visual. All right, so I chose to line. And we've lined that one up there. So the lining process is a little interesting. So this is what the front lining piece will look like. This is the front piece. And there's a facing that covers most of this front extension. These two dots are really important because that is where the facing actually folds over to ultimately. So you want some lining that either sews to this edge of this facing or can slip under. And because I had already gone past many steps and done them 3 times, I chose to extend my lining under my facing and slip stitch my facing to my lining, which I think, did you sew yours or hand stitch yours?
Oh, my.
Well, you're underlined, that's right.
Well, I do have a facing, though. Oh, yes. So I hand
Hand stitched it.
the facing. But
Yeah.
There's no. Yeah, I am underlined.
Yeah. So you draw a line, you extend this shoulder line, and extend this bottom cut line 5/8 of an inch past these two dots. And then you will have enough fabric to either tuck under and the facing comes over, or you can sew it to the edge of the facing and there's enough fabric to come back on itself. So so the lining piece is going to look like this. Whoops. This is your front lining piece. So then to line the sleeves, you just cut out the sleeves, you cut out the back. I toyed with the idea of a jump pleat in the back, and I decided against it. I don't know, would you have done that?
Probably not.
Yeah, on a bomber, I didn't think
No.
so. There wasn't much.
This
is not.
you don't really have.
Right. That traditional tuck in the back is more for, I think, for fitted garments where you need the room to move.
Yes.
So Betsy is going to post this little drawing on Facebook so that you can see that a little better. So just a couple of other issues. Oh, by the way, the rounded back, the traditional round back adjustment is in our fashion fitting encyclopedia on page 12. The Charlie bomber jacket has that slightly different thing going on with the dropped front, but the concept is absolutely still the same. All right, so just a couple of other issues. So zippers. You've used a coil zipper rather than a metal zipper. In fact, I think that's all we've used on these. And I like them because they are very lightweight and very pliable, and you can sew through them. So I was particularly concerned about that with this fabric because this is so lightweight, silk charmeuse. I think it was Maggie on our Q&A who said she was going to make hers in lace, underlined in organza, which would be beautiful. So you would want a lightweight zipper. So just remember, you might be looking for a plastic coil zipper versus a metal zipper when you're looking. So I want to talk about my interfacing process a little bit. I cut out, had I known I was going to interface this garment, I would have fused the entire yardage and then cut out my pieces. But oh no, I was way beyond that. So I had to cut out each piece. So I put my interfacing on the ironing board, fusible side up, and put my pieces that I already cut out of my silk charmeuse wrong side down, used my silk organza press cloth over all of that, and fused basically the center so I wouldn't get glue on this or my iron or whatever. And so then with scissors, because that interfacing doesn't cut very well with rotary cutter. Have you found that to be true?
It chews it.
It just chews it. That's exactly right. So with scissors, I cut around the pieces, and then I pressed the edges, fused the edges. What else? Let's see. Did I have any other little tips? I used on... Oh, I did, before I committed to the fusing though, I put my pattern pieces back on to make sure that I was fusing it to the shape, the original shape, because I've certainly done that.
Your paper pattern.
My paper pattern piece went on top of my cut silk charmeuse on top of my interfacing.
You can easily distort if you don't resize that to your pattern.
That's right. So I used a 2-ply thread, really lightweight thread on this, and I used a 70 needle. What size needle are you using these days?
Usually 75.
Yeah, 70, 75. Neither one of us is using an 80 much anymore on anything, really. I own them, but I don't really use them. All right, one tip I want to give you about this pattern. I've had some emails about the fact that the necklines of the collar and the garment, people are having trouble getting that sewn together because there's a strain. If you don't clip enough, stay stitched properly, then the collar is bigger than the neckline, I believe, or I've forgotten which way it is. But here's the deal. There's a seam here at the back of this collar. If you're having trouble making that fit, just let that seam out or take it up, whichever it takes. But you've got some flexibility there on that back seam to allow this neckline to fit a lot easier. So just use what you've got right there. Back to the underlining and lining and all that, do check out my Craftsy class called Underneath It All. And that has lessons on lining, underlining, interlining, facings, all kinds of under structures. So I think it's a pretty good class, so check that out on Craftsy. I want to show you one picture of another jacket. So this is a Johnny Was jacket, and it has a very Southwest sort of flavor to it. But this is fringe. So instead of ribbing, think about something else. It could be gathered fabric. It could be fringe. I thought that was kind of fun. So there's your next inspiration. Not that you need any.
It would be fun to do a crochet on the bottom too, if you could find your grandma's crochet afghan that she made.
That would be nice. Well, let's look at some fabrics. All right, so this is sort of a lightweight canvas denim, and so is this one.
Oh gosh.
I think this is a very summery, splatter painted, but it's the same fabric basically as this. Has the same flavor. You wouldn't have to underline it or line it, but you could. See, that's the back of it. If you're okay with that, fine. Otherwise, line it in something kind of fun. Now, finding ribbings and all that is tricky. So Erin and I can think, and we'll get your opinion, this is cotton knit in a couple of stripes here, the reverse stripes, both of which I think go with this. Would you consider using a cotton knit as ribbing?
I would, yes.
I would too. So you might have some, I think the ribbing, the knit has to have some stability to it. I mean, it can't just be a super, super tissue weight knit, but a cotton knit I think would work just fine. Here's the fabric that my jacket is in, and I used this knit, which I failed to bring up here. I brought it today, but forgot to bring it to show you, but I had this blue and white Ponte knit that I did. I had a struggle with whether to do it vertically or horizontally, and I voted for horizontal mostly because it has the most stretch. Show them your cuff. So
this one?
Yeah, the cuff thing, you have ribbing on your cuff that you have on.
All right, this was, I cannibalized from the closet a loft shell.
Okay.
Which was the perfect color.
It's a ribbing though.
Yes, and it's a silk knit shell, but it is ribbing. So it went on the bottom, it went on the cuffs.
Now you said that you cut off this sleeve.
But I think it's a little short.
Because you cut off almost 3 inches, you said.
I did.
So that her cuff ends right here. The original, the pattern that we have produced, the Charlie Bomber jacket, has enough cuff to roll up. Like this. This is the width of the cuff. I cut 3 inches off of mine so that because I did not want to roll it up.
Okay.
So you have to think about what you want here.
Yeah.
Do you want to roll it up? Do you want it single? You want it narrow? You want it wide?
Right.
You know, it changes the character of it and how it looks.
This was every inch of that shell there was, so I had no choice.
All right, so this is mine. Now, I wanted to line it in this. This is Bemberg rayon and one of the linings that we carry, and I so wanted to, but the polka dot showed through.
Oh, it did?
So I didn't do it. But wouldn't that have been fun? Of course, had I done the underlining in one of those other fabrics that didn't work, it would have been fine. This is a rayon, 100% rayon, but I think this would make a fantastic bomber jacket. And you could interface it like I did with the fusible interfacing, or underline it or not. And look at this great lining. This is Bemberg rayon as well in another polka dot. And I think any of these are just fantastic combinations. So this is another silk. Oh, excuse me, this is viscose rayon. It feels like silk. I think this would make a great bomber with some navy blue ribbing, which we have. Wouldn't that be fun? Mm-hmm. And here's Erin's fabric. I thought this fabric was interesting because it reads a little bit, it does really read with a little bit of a vertical stripe to it, which none of us realized until she was laying it out on the table. And sometimes you don't even know that by just looking at it. I think this would be a really elegant bomber jacket. This is silk. I say that, and I should check. Silk and viscose. I noticed that's happening a lot more. They're combining the silks with viscose.
And you have downstairs some soft gray ribbing.
Yeah.
Which I think I would do a soft gray ribbing rather than a black.
Yeah.
That would be pretty.
That would be pretty. So then we get into these novelties. So sort of in memory of this. So we have this really interesting fabric. This is a short pile fur that's been embossed with some patent leather. Now, how would you treat this? What pieces would be cut out for your bomber jacket? What would you use with it?
I think I would just do the front and back, or just the front. Kind of depends. Gosh, too bad you can't find that again. But the front and the back, and then maybe find some kind of a knit.
How about this knit over here in the corner?
For sleeves.
Let's get this guy out of the way. Oops. So this is a really loopy French terry. Now I happen to think that this would make a fantastic sleeves, back, whatever.
Oh, it's great.
Wouldn't this be fun? And this would also be fun as a bomber jacket in this stretch sequin. So you do this in the front and this for the back and the sleeves, or that could be the front and the back. Or you can combine this with this.
Yes, I think that would be good. It's really great if you have fabrics that are a little bit fussy sometimes to use this garment as a great way to just display.
Right. And then, or think about this little fur.
That would be wonderful.
Even with the black, because the base of this has a black weave to it. But I love this faux fur as well. So, those are our fabric lineups for the day. We have all these fabrics on sale, plus some ribbings. In this cinnamon color, in grape, in black. This is how it's sold in the tube, which you cut and open up whenever you're dealing with a tube. And so all these fabrics are on sale. And because we're wearing Hudson's, the Hudson pattern is on sale. And we have a tutorial called Bagging the Lining, which we're putting on sale this week. Now, the Bagging the Lining tutorial really doesn't have anything specifically to do with the Charlie Bomber, but it gives you the concepts of cutting a lining and how you place a facing over a front and where you draw a line to be able to connect your lining to the facing and other concepts that I think are really important with lining. So it's a great tutorial for the general idea of lining. So I think those are our sales today. Did I catch everything, Erin? I think so. All right, do we have any questions?
Yes. So what is channel stitching and what kind of thread do you use?
Oh, channel stitching is just straight quilt. It's like a machine quilt stitch, but it's just straight through. I don't know if you can see it here. Maybe you can see it on the darker pieces here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'll start in the middle and draw a horizontal line straight across the pattern and start there. And then maybe do 3 lines, take it back to the table, readjust your piece, pin, and start again. And it's just the width of the presser foot to stabilize it all.
So again, you used a mixture of colors, but primarily cotton thread.
Cotton or polyester. You know, if I found a beige somewhere, I used it. You know how we all have that
Yeah.
stash of used.
But basically, channel stitching is parallel lines of straight stitches.
Right, yes.
Okay, you can look to see the plaid jacket again. Pull that down. And the inside. Alright, and is the silk charmeuse a stretch fabric? I think they're referring to the one that you have on.
This one? No. The silk charmeuse is not stretch. I forgot you're not mic'd.
Right. Okay. They did have some questions about the round back adjustment. Like, when would you use that?
If you are a person who, from the back, has, stand up here a minute. I'll just demonstrate. Turn around. All right. If you have a garment that traditionally has these sort of diagonal, I'm making these diagonals on you. You don't really have it. If you had diagonal pleats like this in your garment, or in a more traditional garment that doesn't have a ribbing, if your garment hikes up in the back, then you need to add more fabric through here so the garment will fall. And that, some people have a hump or roundness up high, some people have it here. I use the 4 inches because it's sort of standard, but if you know exactly where you are curved, then you might want to do that split right there. But if you don't know for sure, you need to have someone take a picture of you from the back, and if your garments are doing that, then you probably need a round back adjustment.
And how do you decide how much?
Well, if you happen to have a garment and you can stand in front of a mirror and it's hiking up in the back, you can measure from the floor to the center back versus the side seam, and you'll know how much it's hiking up. But otherwise, if you don't have a garment like that and you're not sure if it's going to happen, I would start with a 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch and see how it goes from there.
Do you do it if your garment's falling back on you also?
That's a different adjustment. That's called balancing.
Okay.
Balancing the shoulders. That's also in this book on a different page. But that's different than garments falling back. This is adding more fabric to come over the curve. You have more body to cover and drop the garment.
So to clarify, if she moves up that piece for the round back adjustment, how does she keep the high point shoulder in the same place?
It is in the same place. You're using the same line.
How do you keep it there?
It's there. You're not changing it. You haven't changed a thing.
Okay. Maybe try it again.
This neck is the same. That's not changed.
So you're shifting.
It still sits on your body the same place. All you've done is add fabric down here to drop.
Okay. So we're adding it at the bottom versus at the top.
Oh yeah. You're adding right here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So would this type of adjustment work on a drop shoulder top like the Eureka?
Yeah, we have that in this book as well. How to do that on a... there's a whole chapter in here on fitting shoulders. And on page 15, it's extended shoulder adjustment. Yeah.
And
It's a little different looking, but... oh, I'm sorry, you were talking about rounded back on extension. You would do the same thing. You would do absolutely the same thing. It would just go out further. Yeah.
And they asked where they can get the book, so I wonder if you could ask Betsy.
Oh, Betsy, can you post the link? This is on our website, Fashion Fitting Encyclopedia. We are very close to having the accompanying workbook where you will be able to actually do these processes on paper, on half-scale templates. We're printing it pretty much as we speak, so watch for that if you already own the book.
Okay, does underlining the jacket make it more stable than lining it?
Yeah, I think so. I think underlining does add a little bit more stability. The purpose of lining is really to cover the interior construction of a garment, allow a garment to slide over other garments, and it makes it more beautiful. But I think in terms of stability, underlining is more appropriate for that.
Mm-hmm.
Can Bimberg lining be used for the Ikena 2 piping?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can use Bemberg lining for Ikena 2 piping. You can use anything for piping that is not non-bulky. Sure.
Are the bottom bands of the jackets that Linda and Kathy are wearing knit fabric, ribbing, or something else?
Kathy's is ribbing. Mine is ponte knit, which is not as stretchy. So you can see that it's splaying away because it's not quite as stretchy. Ribbing. Most of these are ribbing, but we're talking about the idea of ponte knits and cotton knits as potential bottom bands. I had to stretch, when I was putting this ponte onto this sleeve, I had to really stretch it a lot more. Ribbing is a lot stretchier than ponte knit, but it did work. I got it on there without too much trouble. I only had to do that one once.
Yours is,
That's the one thing I only had to do once.
So yours is gathered a little more than mine, which looks great.
Well, that's right. Ribbing will splay out a little bit at the top, and you get less. Yeah, I sort of like the way this looks, actually.
I do too.
Yeah.
What t-shirts are you wearing under the jackets?
E.T.
Right.
We're E.T. people. Kathy designed the E.T.
Is the fitting encyclopedia on sale?
No, the fitting encyclopedia is not on sale.
Do we have the SKU number for the aqua linen that you made the Picassos? Maybe we can post that.
We'll post that.
Can you repeat that for us?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What's your next bomber?
Oh,
What's your next project?
Well, I just
gave you one.
I was just assigned one today. Okay. Actually, I want to do another fractured jacket-y thing.
We're going to do a fractured jacket Facebook Live. Kathy and I, we have our trip to France to Chateau de Mar in August, and we're still in the making the decision stage of whether we're going or not. And whether we go or not, we're going to do. She's made 10 fractured jackets to take to France, and we'll show those at some point. They're beautiful.
Can you show the red stripe fabric on the wall? I don't know if they mean the pink.
This one?
Or maybe this one too. I'll hold this
Yeah. This is just a great cotton and spandex knit, kind of a pinstripe. And there's its little cousin, the reverse. Not so pinstripe, but same cotton. It happens to be the same cotton that we used as the underlining in the bomber jacket kit, the navy blue.
And you want to try on the Alabama Chanin jacket?
Sure. You want me to put it on or you want to put it on? I'll put it on.
Yeah, you have a great one.
Maybe I'll take it home. I know, Kathy. She brings it in and it ends up in my closet.
Oh, that looks cute.
Oh, this feels fantastic. What a great feel, that knit on knit.
I've always loved that when it's layered, it does feel
Yeah.
real comfy. All right, bye-bye, jacket.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
All right, and what would you make your ETs out of? What's your favorite fabric?
Well, this same cotton knit that we have this in so many solids and stripes. As a matter of fact, we just got a shipment in yesterday of, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 new colors of this cotton knit. So I really do like the cotton knit. But my gosh, you've made the ET in everything. From viscose knits to sweater knits to bubbly polyester things to...
We've even made it in like a sheer net, doubled.
Yeah.
You can make it in
Yeah.
anything. Just think of the amount of stretch you're going to get when you do that.
But I wear a lot of ETs in the summertime short sleeve. And the cotton knit just feels great.
Best, yes, I agree.
Yeah, lots of basics. Notice I put the black binding around. I generally do a little bit of a contrasting binding because I don't know, does anybody else have this trouble? If I wear, let's say, a necklace that's in sterling or maybe it's a dark color, it gets black right
really?
here. And so if I wear the black binding, it doesn't show as much. Whatever.
What is a fractured jacket?
A fractured jacket is a two-layer jacket that has an under piece of fabric and an outer piece of fabric. It's stitched together, and the outer fabric is cut away to expose the under piece. So it's like reverse applique, only it's machine stitched. Think of a stained glass window.
Yeah.
Let's do one more. The material in your and repeat the question. So, is the material in your tutorial on bagging and lining covered in your Craftsy Underneath It All class?
The material covered in the bagging and the lining jacket or tutorial is it the same as covered in the Craftsy class? In the Craftsy class, the answer is yes until one point. In the Craftsy class, I deal with one method of finishing the lining and the facing at the corner. In the tutorial, I've added our signature all machine sewn method of attaching that. So our tutorial has two methods of bagging the lining, and the Craftsy class has one.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Well, thank
you.
you. Thanks for coming. Can't do it without you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erin, for always being the steady camera girl and question asker person. So thank you so much. We'll see you next Tuesday. I already know what we're doing. People ask me how much time it takes me to think about this, and sometimes I know in advance, and sometimes I don't. But I do know what we're doing next Tuesday, and I'm excited about it.
You're going to tell?
No.
Okay. Surprise.
Because I might change my mind. All right. See you next Tuesday.